And we are live. Welcome to the Green Nurse Podcast, where we bring you hope and inspiration for growth and healing. And we're here to change the dialogue and stigma around what it means to feel good or be high. Hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. Now, you've all heard Mark and I talk about things that people don't want to talk about. However, they're really, really important subjects that need to be discussed to decrease stigma for healing. 2020 and 2021 was the year of the nurse and the midwife, and we've been highlighting and illuminating cannabis nurses, nursing, health professionals, and other cannabis leaders in the industry because we are truly in revolutionary times when we're changing how we approach and take care of patients. So we don't wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to be a cannabis teacher. I'm going to be a cannabis nurse. There's usually a compelling story that goes along with the plunge. And so what makes someone enter into the cannabis space as a clinician or a coach or a teacher? So I am really, really excited to introduce to you all Tasha Jackson. She is the Vice President of Program Development for Holistic Caring Network. She has her bachelor's degree in anthropology and her master's of arts in education. Upon the suggestion of her doctor, Tasha found cannabis relieved tendinitis in her right arm. And in 2018, she was blown away by these natural remedies. Her ideal work is to return to the ancient knowledge of plants back to the people. She's an aspiring herbalist and a zealous educator with 10 plus years classroom experience. And what she's doing now is she's designing curriculum for holistic caring, for which now houses all of the green nurses. So I met Tasha at the beginning of the year when Holistic Caring Network and the Green Nurses started courting one another to see how we could grow both of our organizations. And now we are truly on the way, and we could not be happier. This will benefit all people, patients, providers, and those who are interested in changing the world as we are becoming a global organization. So today I'm really, really excited to introduce you all to Tasha because her story demonstrates the ability to shift, pivot by using your gifts and talents. She's a teacher, and she pivoted into the cannabis space, creating curriculums for holistic caring and the green nurses. So welcome, Tasha Jackson. It has just been a pleasure to get to know you over these past few months. And I'm just really, really so excited to share your story because it's different. You don't hear about school teachers, all of us saying, see ya, I'm going to start teaching cannabis. So welcome to the show. I'm excited for everyone.
Well, thank you for having me on. It is really a joy and a pleasure to be here today.
Oh, good. I'm so, so glad. So, there's a lot of new people out there and, I'm sure, they're thinking teaching cannabis health professionals. So this is the part that I really love. How did you enter into the space? What drew you? What compelled you? What made you shift and pivot to get on the bus?
So I think that 2020 was a revolutionary time for everyone, not just myself. And, as a classroom teacher for over 10 years, I've taught first grade through adults, and I was really looking for a different way to express my talent, a different way to be challenged, a different way to help more people because, 100 kids a year or maybe 150 kids a year is staggering and important. But at the same time, how could I do more? How could I expand this out, in further into my community? And, just like everyone, I was putting those intentions out for a long time of what is it that I can do with my talents? And of course, I did a bunch of job searching and things like that and, applying and getting rejected. And then 2020 came along. And of course, that's the year that everyone's life changed, but especially mine. And so Elizabeth Mack contacted me through a mutual acquaintance. And because people are always interested, how do you know Elizabeth? How did you meet? And so it's basically something that's only written in the stars, right? So Elizabeth and I had a mutual acquaintance. And when the pandemic started, her course designer, of course, she was teaching at the university, at some university. And she had to pivot her classroom to be online. Well, because my classroom was already partly online anyway, it was really easy for me to pivot over because being an English teacher, the majority of my work was, online already. And so when the mutual acquaintance had put us into contact with each other, Elizabeth kind of, shared what had happened. And, now I don't have a course designer, and the mutual acquaintance had said that, you could help me. And so I thought, yeah, sure. I can build you an online course in 6 weeks. No problem. I can do that in my sleep, right? Well, little did I know that that was going to launch me on the journey that I have been on since then. And it has been, just astounding, amazing, incredible. Yes, it has been difficult because it has not been an easy ride. But at the same time, it's been rewarding, it's been fulfilling, it's been inspiring. All of the new people that I have met, especially in the healthcare industry, it's just to me, I can't believe that this is my life, right? So I of course, I said, yeah, sure, I'll build a course for you, but I never asked her what it was about. And I just was like, yeah, sure. So we signed the contract and everything, and she sends me all of the materials, and then my jaw just dropped because I'm not a healthcare professional. I don't know anything about cannabis other than, CBD, topical. And I was using topical for my tendonitis, right? I wasn't, using tinctures or anything like that. And I wasn't having much success with it either. As many of you know, you have to do multiple things in order to relieve that pain. So once I opened it up and looked, I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do? What did I say? But I said, but again, remembering that intention that I made of being challenged, right? I want to be challenged, and definitely taking something that a 35-year veteran nurse wrote from just a hodgepodge of conference notes and patient notes and her own experience as being her own patient, and just a 65-page document is what I received to build what we have in our community. And I just took a deep breath and I said, I can do this. I wanted this challenge, and here it is. And so as I was building the program, the initial program, right? We have 13, 14 now, something like that. And I know I lose count, thankfully, right? But whenever I initially was building that program, not only did I have to teach myself cannabis as medicine, but I had to teach myself through the program pharmacology, pharmacokinetics, biology, chemistry, botany, right? All of these different aspects that I had no idea about. And so as other teachers out there know, you have to be the master of something in order to be able to teach it to others. And so within 6 weeks, it was really strange. It was rough, but after 6 weeks, smoke was blowing out of my ears. My brain was incredibly exhausted, that my eyes rolled into the back of my head, but I had finished the first version. There's been many versions, but I finished the first version of the program. So the program that you see today is a far cry from where it was more than a year ago.
Right.
So
that question, I want to interrupt you just really quickly. So prior to becoming a cannabis educator at Holistic Caring Network, what type of a teacher were you? So that's a really cool question. What did you teach in the traditional system?
Sure. So in the traditional system, I was actually an English as a second language teacher. So my expertise is not just English literature. I'm not a fan of traditional English literature type teaching, but my expertise lies in how the brain processes language. And so how we're performing language, how we're utilizing language, and then how do we use that knowledge to teach others to utilize the information. So all of my expertise that I had, I used in building these programs, because understanding how the brain works, also with my anthropology degree, so how as humans we receive information and then how we go and transfer skills and knowledge from one place to another, that's incredibly important whenever understanding how I have worked to build these programs.
So I just want to comment really quickly. I took the introductory course, and I'm delving into the licensed healthcare professional. So I can talk about it on the podcast, but I'm going to tell you, I do have issues with ADHD,
Mhm.
so severely that I almost didn't pass first grade. So, about receptive language was a challenge
Mhm.
for me, where I can express myself really well, but receptivity. So I think it's really, really important. Like, your work is absolutely outstanding. So,
Oh, thank you.
yes, it is, because it is, because there are so many different learning styles. With the Green Nurse, when we're working with patients on the intake form, we actually have a
Mhm.
question. How do you best learn? Question
Yes.
and answer, reading, video, experiential, hands-on, right? All those different ways, because cannabis education is very abstract. It can be
Yes.
very confusing, and it requires us to unlearn about a lot of what we did learn as health
Mhm.
professionals. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And, whenever I was building these programs, the most important thing that I think that viewers need to understand is that when you are considering your education options, how accessible is the content? And so whenever, I mean, you can have a technical writer write content all day long, right? You can hire someone all day long, but how accessible is that content? Because again, what is it that you're trying to achieve? Are you trying to get people to take away that knowledge? And if so, you have to not only have content that's accessible, but you have to make the content accessible over a wide range and array of people. And so that
Yes.
that again is where my expertise came in, because that's really difficult to do, to keep
Yeah, it
every
is.
single type of person in mind. And
Mhm.
the program that we have now is great, but I know that it needs improvements. We need more video, we need more animation, we need more little movie clips, right? So I know that it still needs to be improved upon. Like, the best is yet to come. Wait until you see, whenever I'm finally, I have high expectations. So whenever I finally say I'm done with this, wait till
Right.
you see what it will look like then, right?
Oh, it's just really great. And it's really important too. And Tasha, I'm just going to step upon the point, like, even as myself as a nurse, I was a seasoned nurse coming into the cannabis space. I came in as a patient. I wish that these programs were there, because it took me 2 years to figure out how to make cannabis work for me so I could function below the threshold of being impaired. Right. And the
Mhm.
goal of cannabinoid therapeutics is to take the least amount of cannabis to get the results that you're looking for, and also to support and nourish your endocannabinoid system. So there
Right.
was nothing out there for me, nothing at all. And I know for a fact, I knew that it worked, because the first time that I did cannabis medicinally, my pain was gone instantaneously. But it
Yeah.
was a process. And so having this curriculum, right, is so key, core, important. And we're going to get into the different modules in a minute. We'll talk a little bit more about them. But the other important piece of it is that, nurses and educators may go to a class or a course, and a lot of the information is very abstract. And so to be able to break it down into analogies, and to give examples, to give real live
Mhm.
case studies. So that's something that's
Right.
what's wonderful, is because all of the experience that, Elizabeth has, and then you're being able to piece it together, it makes it really, really easy for people to learn. It's wonderful. And I create content all the time. So, what I'm really, really excited about is to be going to be able to share some of that content, on our podcast, because it is so rich, and people, really need
Yeah.
to learn it. And you're constantly updating, and that's what I love. I really love how, keeping on top of the research, keeping on top of, the different methods of
Yeah.
administration, the different methodologies, the different cannabinoids, all the different programs, the disease processes, and then the license, all the different programs that you have for different people in the industry. So we'll get into that in a minute, but I want to get back to really quickly, when you first started on this journey working with holistic caring, creating all of the programs, did you have a lot of stigma to work through as a teacher?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
So what did that
I
look like? Because
remember.
this is good. People need to
Yeah.
know that,
So
you know what I mean? Because
oh gosh. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, full disclosure, I'm still in the cannabis closet still. So
not
yeah,
anymore.
don't tell anybody. Don't tell anyone. So with my with the majority of my friends, I do have some friends that know, but the majority of my friends and the vast majority of my family do not know what I'm doing. So, that is difficult. I'm going to have my cannabis coming out party at some point, but
you know what, Tasha, I think this is it. I think
this is it. Yeah, this is it. This is the foray. So absolutely. So whenever I first opened up the materials, Elizabeth sent me a 65-page Word document. It was not cut into nice spaces. It was just one long document. It had numbers with the slides, and it was just a one long thing, and a 350 slide PowerPoint. That's all I had, right? And so whenever I first opened it, my first thought was, how am I going to do this? My second thought was, can I do this? Because I'm certified by the state. I'm a state employee. And if anyone finds out, am I going to be in trouble? Am I going to be stripped of my license? I just was like, I don't even know if I can do this. But I said, you know what? Maybe this is it. Maybe this is the answer to my prayers and my intentions that I was putting out. So I just said, again, I just buckled the seatbelt. I was
buckle
like,
up,
here we
buckle
go.
Up, buttercup.
Yeah. And so I just, again, I looked at it as an opportunity, and obviously never then did I think, I thought I was just going to shake hands with Elizabeth after 6 weeks and walk away. I never thought that I was going to end up to be vice president. And so I actually went to her house the last week so that we could finalize the program as, at 6 weeks. So we're finalizing the program, and we're hanging out, and, we're working together really well. And then that's whenever she had asked me, you do really great work and we work together really well. Would you like to be on my team? And of course, then I was like, wow. And then that was in May. At the end of May, and probably a week later, I quit my job. I put in my formal resignation from the district.
Okay, you all hear that out there? Tasha Jackson, Holistic Caring Network, VP of Programs, quit her regular job and now is teaching cannabis to health professionals. If that isn't the most badass thing I've ever heard, I don't know what is. So seriously. Yeah. I think that's amazing. So what inspires you to educate people who want to use cannabis as medicine?
The patients, but mostly I was in contact with nurses that were patients first. So of course, Elizabeth was the first nurse patient. That's what I call them, as nurse patients. I don't know what nurses that were patients also call themselves, but that's what I call nurses. Yeah, they were patients. Nurse patients. So nurse patients are the ones that I was in contact with first. And they shared their stories with me. And Christine Lee, I just pulled out a clip from her. We have a monthly mastermind that we do in the licensing program. And Christine shared her story. Christine was a nurse patient. She was a nurse and then became Elizabeth's patient. And then Elizabeth helped her and coached her through her cancer journey. She had stage 4 lymphatic cancer, something like that. And she had, was undergoing this experimental new treatment. And so Elizabeth was able to help her. And so now her cancer is in complete remission. So I posted that. And then she also was on the news. The news did a broadcast on her. It didn't include cannabis, but it did include the new treatment. But, her type of story is what started to inspire me. So as I moved into the cannabis space, I started hearing these stories of women and men that have had cancer, have had chronic pain, have had mental health issues, have had autoimmune issues, have had, just were completely crippled by opiates. And I immediately was converted from hearing these stories of how people were healed through plant medicine. And I've been a huge advocate and proponent of plant medicine for a long time. I've been on my herbal, healing journey for 20 years now. And just, again, listening to story after story after story after story of essentially cannabis saved my life. You know, traumatic brain injury. I mean, just you name it. You name it, and I have heard a story. Just
there you go.
And so it's been the people within the industry themselves, the nurse patients and other patients that I've come into contact with that continue to inspire me today.
Yeah. Oh, God, so happy to have you. So a couple other questions I have, because this is just really good for people to hear. So as a teacher, what do you feel is the greatest challenge when you're educating patients? And what is the greatest challenge you feel when you're educating professionals? So that's kind of a crossover: nurse patients, health professionals. What are the challenges?
So the biggest challenge, of course, is an online platform, because in a classroom setting, I could immediately pivot, shift, do something different if something didn't work, be able to gauge engagement. On an online platform, I don't have that. All I have is how I interact with people within the platform. So whenever people first join the platform, you get a message from me. Yes, I am a real person that messages you. I am a real person that interacts with you, because essentially you're my student, right? And so a good teacher gets to know their students. And so me understanding people's personal story, I mean, as much as I can. I mean, thank goodness our community is growing very quickly. So it's hard that's another challenge, is it's really difficult to keep up with everyone. For the most part, I do my best. I try hard to keep up with everyone, and that way I can connect people together. But I think that's the most challenging thing for both. But for patients, it's that they're not well. And while I've had students that have had, varying disabilities or different types of abilities, I don't have the experience working with people that are very, very sick, and how to provide the education that they need across a broad spectrum, because we have 8 different condition programs, and I don't know how to fully interact with each one in order to provide them the best education.
And that's why we're there. Woo-hoo!
Yeah.
That's why the green nurses are moving in.
Yeah. And so, Sherry and Carrie Lee especially have been really instrumental in trying to help me to say, okay, well, they know patients very well. And so they've really come in to help me to say, okay, this is something that we need to change here to make it a little bit more accessible to patients. And so that has been really awesome. And then challenges with professionals. I haven't really had so many with professionals. The way that I tried to build the program is for working professionals, so that, the nurse that is on his or her 3-day or 4-day, 12-hour shift can still participate in the program. So choosing the platform was important. So the platform has a mobile app. So many of our nurses are doing their program from their phone or from a tablet while they're on their break, or if they have some kind of downtime. So that was, I think, the largest challenge that I wanted to meet, was how do I build a program that is complete, comprehensive, still has room to grow, but also is available, not only on the go, but for that working professional.
Right. So let's just talk about holistic caring.
Okay.
The programs that are offered. What sets holistic caring apart? Because there's a ton of programs out there. We know that.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely biased because I hopped on your bus. But I want people to understand, and I know that I can talk about it, but from your perspective, because you are a teacher, you've been working with Elizabeth, you've created these programs. What makes them different than anything else that's out there?
So the main difference that I think that people really need to understand is the difference between information and education. And I cannot ever stress that enough, because I have taken 3 other programs. I am an alumni from one, but some of the other programs that I've been able to look at, they only provide lectures only, which is only one mode of receiving information. That's not going to be the most effective for everyone. Or they're doing read only, which again only provides one mode. And so whenever you have a lecture or you only have reading, you're just ingesting information. there is no education, because what is different is that there's no practical application. And so when you have education, it's really imperative that you have what I call in our programs extension activities, because if I called them homework, no one would do them.
Extension activities, I love it.
If I call them extension activities, people are more apt to complete them. And so, of course, like we have interactive quizzes, and then we have a final. Of course, you have to finish the final in order to receive the certificate and to receive your continuing education credits if you're a nurse. But the extension activities are really where you take the practical application and then transfer those skills and knowledge into real life. And that's really the difference, because you can have someone lecture at you, you're feverishly taking notes, but then what?
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Or
exactly.
you're reading something.
Yeah.
You're reading something and you're feverishly taking notes. Okay, this is how I do this. This is how I do this. And then what? We've all been there, because our traditional education system, we receive a textbook, and everyone in higher ed knows this. You receive a textbook and you're kind of on your own, and you are supposed to take that textbook and then translate it over into real life.
Right.
How?
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So as teachers, we have internships. As nurses, you all have internships as well. So how do we include that aspect into our programs? Extension activities. So they're activities of how to read a COA, how to do a case study, moving into, working with a patient. So it takes, in our licensing program, there are 6 different extension activities that I have there included, where, again, it's, unfortunately, I wish we were, in person and can do in-person trainings. At some point, yes. I mean, we're global now, so we have nurses all over the world. But if we could do in-person training and we can have that one-to-one, that would be great. But again, challenge, online platform, we can't do that. So the extension activities is the best that I can do to provide that mentoring and one-on-one, with the exception of the nurse mentoring and training program that Sherry and I are putting together, to provide more one-on-one education for nurses, for incoming nurses that want to be green nurses.
Yes, and that is really, really exciting, because we have a ton of people that are coming to us wanting to be nurses. And I love training nurses, but it's going to be great to be able to get them into the program, take the licensing courses, finish those courses, and then go into mastermind education, mentoring, so we can teach nurses how to actually apply all their knowledge to actual consulting. Because what you learn, in nurses that are out there that are listening, if you remember in nursing school, I remember when I was in nursing school, when I did my first clinical, I was like, this isn't what I learned.
Yeah.
Right.
Same in teaching.
So it's actual patient experiences. Anything goes. You have no idea what could come up in that consultation. And so being able to teach and educate and mentor nurses how to work in real live scenarios with patients with various illnesses, various diseases, various stigmas, different ways of doing things, all of that stuff is really, really critical, because it's different. It's also a lot of unlearning some of the stuff that you learn when you go into a consultation with a patient. Because when we go in with the consultation with the patient, we have one thing in mind: our agenda. Seriously, we do, because we want what's best for the patient. But cannabis nursing coaching is very different. It's about meeting patients where they're at, having that transpersonal connection with them, right? Connecting to them, leading them on a journey, educating, empowering, providing information, and guiding them down the path so they can make the choices that are appropriate for them. And so it's a really different way of doing it. I didn't learn that in traditional nursing school. And so that's what's so great about this, is that our coming together, the Green Nurses and Holistic Caring Network, we're getting it from both sides. We're going to have that traditional classroom, plus the mentorship, plus the mastermind, plus the actual experiential learning, working with patients that come to us for education. So the part that's so beautiful about that too is, even now when I was training some of the nurses that work with us at the Green Nurse, patients love to have more nurses involved. So, that's the thing,
Yeah.
is you do co-consulting, and that's how you learn, by actually doing it. And so that's what I really like about our programs coming together. We're covering all bases, when it comes to the education, the information, the application, and the ability to teach nurses how to go out there and either start their own business or do something else in the cannabis space, because there's so many different things that you can do.
Yeah.
And then I want to break it down even further, because it's not just for nurses. So let's talk about the 4 big programs. And that's the other thing I want everyone to know as well, is that this isn't just for professionals. It's for professionals, nurses, patients, all people. It's really for all people. And there's so many different choices and options. So let's just break down the top 4 professional programs really quickly, so people can understand the difference and why they might want to choose that program if they're exploring.
Sure. So the very first program that we have is a licensing program. So the licensing program is basically like an initial fee. We'll have right now we have it on sale, 50% off, by the way. And so 50% off sale until August 31st. Let me just put that plug in there. But the very first one is a licensing program. So you have an initial fee that you would pay, and then you have an annual fee, which would be less than what the initial is. And the reason is because we teach you how to set up your own business from start to finish. So if you don't have a business, or you're looking to do the cannabis nurse consulting gig, there are a bunch of traveling nurses that have just joined us recently, that they're going to be moving around from state to state to state. And they need to understand not only cannabis state laws, but they know that they're moving around through rec and medical states, and they need to be ready, and they need to understand the types of patients that they could be receiving. And so that cannabis education is going to be incredibly important for them. At the same time, they also want to start their own little consulting gig on the side. And so we teach you start to finish how to do that. We have a monthly mastermind where Elizabeth comes in. She does clinical stuff, or we have discussions over particular topics related to business and business strategy and business growth. And we have continuous updates of the platform. I mean, that's just a given. We just do that every year anyway. But, there's articles that I'll throw in there. So you have access to a huge amount of resources, a huge amount of education, a huge amount of information in that program. Plus you have all the support to go with it. So, a lot of our nurses that are in that program, I work very closely with them, because they're asking me questions of, Tasha, how do I best teach a patient about this thing, right? I, of course, cannot answer clinical questions, but if anyone has questions related to how to educate someone, that is my wheelhouse, right?
Right.
So the licensing program is full, continuous, ongoing support with an annual fee.
Right.
The program right underneath that is where we call the clinician's toolkit kind of level. So if you already have your own business, right? So if you already are that cannabis nurse that nurse that's in your community, but you want or you need to learn cannabis, then the second program is going to be the Cannabis Health Coach program, the CHC program. That's going to be the one underneath that. So it has exactly the same content as the licensing program, except you're not going to build your own business. You're just learning cannabis as medicine as a healthcare professional. We do give you a clinician's kit with that. So it still comes with a bunch of patient forms to help you get started on, patient appointments and things like that. Then we have an industry program. And that is more geared towards, it's not a bud tender training. So there are a lot of bud tender trainings out there. We're not training bud tenders on how to be bud tenders. We're training dispensary workers on how to interact with medical cannabis patients, because all of us have heard horror stories of patients going into a dispensary and having not the experience that they wanted to have or thought they were going to have, because the person working in the dispensary wasn't educated on how to work with medical cannabis patients. And so that program offers that training and that education to dispensary workers on how to interact with medical patients,
Right.
what to expect or what to understand, putting yourself in that patient's shoes whenever they walk into the dispensary, because we need to build caring and compassion in the dispensaries with patients. Then the program underneath that is our most basic program. It's a cannabis wellness coach. So let's say that you're a massage therapist and you want to start to utilize CBD massage oil or some kind of CBD topicals for your clients. And so that is the program that would help you get started. And so
Right.
all of these programs work together with our patient programs. And our idea here is that we're educating the professional on how to educate the patient. And then we're also educating the dispensary worker and also how to go back and also work with the patient. So then it's really a threefold kind of cycle where you have the professional working with the patient and the patient's working with the dispensary. That's the idea here.
That's awesome. It's just really, really good stuff. And so here's another cool thing. The green nurses are hiring, and we need more nurses to take care of patients. And so the way to do that is literally to join the community. So if you're a registered nurse, licensed LPN, advanced practice nurse, nurse practitioner, all like any type of nurse, you need to come and work with us. We need more nurses. Like, we are expanding globally across the United States, already in other countries, which is really, really excited. And these are the programs that we want you to take. You know, there's a lot of other nursing organizations out there that we encourage you to explore as well. But this one here is really comprehensive and is going to give you the ability to really jump in right away. You know, it's standardized, it's systemized, it's going to guide you down the path. And then all of us cannabis nurses are there. There's a lot of cannabis nurses that have their businesses already up and running. There's a lot of nurses that work with us that not only consult with us, but they also have side businesses. So really, really, it's a great place for nurses to come to get your feet wet. You join the community for free. You go in, you set up a profile, you start talking to Tasha, myself, and other professionals. And then we guide you down the path based on what's interesting to you, because you can pair cannabis education into anything that you're doing as a nurse. And there's so many different things that you can do in the cannabis space as a nurse. I've done a lot of them. So, and then just, navigating, trying to figure out what my niche is. What do I like to do? And so now we have that capability of, really helping nurses hone in on what lights their fire, what lights you up, what excites you, and to bring that education, because I'm telling you right now, you will be a hero to your patient once you start talking about cannabis. Once you go down that rabbit hole, you can't go back.
Yeah. And I'd like to add too that nurses are coming with specialties. So whatever specialty you have, like, we have nurses that are from the VA, we have military nurses, we have, pediatric nurses, we have, help me out, Sherry, who else do we have? Like, other types.
We've got doulas, we've got death doulas.
Oh,
we've
yes,
got birthing doulas, we've got death doulas, we've got hospice nurses.
Yes.
We have
a lot of hospice nurses.
Lots of hospice nurses, end of life nurses. We've got nurses from the intensive care unit that have come on board.
Oh, the ER as well. And so again, all of these nurses are bringing their expertise and then learning cannabis and then taking it back with them to wherever specialty they're coming from. And so again, it's incredibly important that nurses are in all levels. And what we're really trying to do is a grassroots effort. The goal is to have a cannabis nurse in every community, right? And so that people have options, because patients are looking for options.
They are. And the part that I like too is, that also makes Holistic Caring Network different, is that it's about all progressive therapies that support and nourish the endocannabinoid system. So the Holistic Caring Network community is not just for nurses. It's for patients, it's for providers, it's for all people that want to learn and get involved in the cannabis space. It's private, it's safe, it's uncensored, right? And we're all there that you can interact with. I think it's really, really great. So what do you think nurses bring to the table when it comes to cannabis?
Oh gosh. I mean, just what I've watched Elizabeth do with her own patients. So I like that's the first experience that I can speak to, is just knowing what Elizabeth has done in conjunction with her patients. It's hard for me to speak about because it's just amazing. I know that some of her patients were at end of life, and their end of life was extended by some months, sometimes 2 years, but they had quality of life. They weren't suffering. They weren't in pain. She's had other patients like Christine Lee that, full cancer remission. We're actually going to have a webinar with Americans for Safe Access on August 12th at 12 p.m. or sorry, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so she's going to be talking about some of the patients that she has treated. She does an interview with 2 of her patients, and just how it works, just how the medicine works. And then with my own personal story is one of our cannabis nurses, Heather. She's also an herbalist, and
Hi,
I have a
hi, Heather.
Yeah, hi Heather Shelton. Hi
Heather Shelton.
And so I had a friend that her husband was a pathologist, and then all of a sudden became schizophrenic. And they didn't know, just he was in a car accident, and it just triggered severe schizophrenia. And I won't go into all of the details of the last 10 years, but my friend has basically come to a point where, all of the antipsychotics, all traditional medicine, all of that stuff, like he was not improving. And so we want cannabis to be a first resort in some cases, not necessarily a last resort. Wow. But it's the last resort for a lot of people. And so for him, it was the last resort. And so Heather coached my friend through starting with CBD and CBG, 900, 1 drop 2 times per day. So 1 drop in the morning and 1 drop in the middle of the afternoon. And you cannot believe, in 6 weeks. So he was taking some antipsychotic medication that was causing tremors. And so he was then on an additional medication that was, he was being treated as if he had Parkinson's, right? Because it was trying to manage his tremors. And it was so bad, he couldn't even feed himself because, the food is shaking off of the spoon. And so just within 6 weeks, I was sitting at the table with him, having a conversation. He was shaking, but not as violently. He was able to feed himself, dress himself, go for walks. He was alert. I started to kind of talk to him about, whenever he was a doctor and some of his old pathology days, and he could remember things. And this was a man that was in a catatonic vegetative state. I mean, had no idea what was going on, was suicidal. The man has gone through hell the last 10 years, and just to see 2 drops per day for 6 weeks and see that that's the result.
The power of the plant.
You can't deny it. You can't deny it whenever you see it for yourself.
No, I know. Thank you so much for sharing that. People really need, to hear these stories. That's why I do this. This is why I started podcasting, A, to come out of the closet, and B, to share compelling stories of healing to decrease stigma. So really, as we start to wrap up, let's talk about how to get into the community, what happens when people sign up for the community, and what's available for them for free. Let's talk about that, because, there is so much that's there, and I'm so excited to be part of it.
Everyone likes free stuff.
Everyone likes free stuff. So people, you're going to go, everyone right now, pull out your phone or your laptop, go to the Green Nurse Holistic Caring Community, Holistic Caring right there. And then what happens, Tasha, when people sign up?
So whenever you sign up, you can sign up kind of 3 ways. So the first way is with Gmail. So you just click the Gmail button. People are used to that. I think that there's a Facebook button, and I'm not sure if there's a LinkedIn button yet. I think that's coming. You can sign in that way, or you can go ahead and type in your name and your email, and then what happens then is that I receive an approval. And so it comes to me, and then I look at it and I say, okay, this person is good, because again, we have a private community that I'm in charge of safeguarding, right? So to make sure that there's that everyone is safe in their space, right? Like this is a safe space.
It's a pre-screening process. It makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm like the mama bear, making sure that all my people are safe. So the request comes to me, I review it, I approve it. Then you will receive an email at some point in time. Always check your spam. So it's going to come from Elizabeth Mack from via Mighty Networks. And then it will say like the request has been approved, and then click the green button to join. And then once you click the green button to join, you're in. That's it.
There you go. You're in.
That's it.
Really cool. So when I joined, I came in and you set up a little profile. You can do as much or as little as you want. Along the side there's topics of discussion. There's the programs. There's events. It's been really fun to put the podcast up there. We're going to be doing a book club.
Yeah.
Right? So talk about some of the events that go on there for people join that, so they know.
Okay, sure. So there are different levels and different layers. So there's with the universal, what I call the universal network, which is what everyone sees. Conferences will go in there. So any conferences that we're a part of or we know of that is for nurses or other professionals, I post them there so that people can register. Sometimes we're affiliated with them, sometimes we're not. Sometimes it's just good information. Again, going through the topics, you guys can see Sherry posts a lot, and then also Jana Champagne, she'll post a lot in the research. We post all of the video appearances. So basically there's like a video library there for people to access. I also will post articles that I think are really helpful for the entire network. Then you move into the patient portal. So anyone who joins the network, please, 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 please join the patient portal, because everyone is a patient. Really, everyone is a patient. So join the patient portal. Everybody is in there. And so we will have events that are just for patients. So we have a patient support group coming up, and I think that was September 21st.
Yep. September 21st.
Yeah, September 21st.
I'll be there.
Yeah, and we also have a pharmacist, a cannabis pharmacist, Dr. Leah Johnson. She'll be with us as well. And it's just a safe space to come and talk about your experience. So it's not consultation, it's not Q&A. It's just, hey, sharing. Share, be supported, kind of safe space, right? So that's kind of the patient side. LCHC has the mastermind. And then we have, like Sherry said, we have the book club. So Elizabeth's book, Cannabis for Health, will be the first one. And then we'll have Mark's book as the second. And then go ahead and hold up Mark's book. Yes. And so Mark's book will be the second. And then we'll have a new program. Don't tell anybody. This is insider information. We'll have a new program featuring women's issues. And the book club will then switch to a book called Weed Mom by Danielle Simone Brand. Danielle Simone Brand. And
I've had Danielle on the show before. So she's come on the show to share her story, to share her book. We've actually given away one of her books. So so that will be wonderful. Her book is really great, very, very knowledgeable. She's a great positive influence for women and moms in the cannabis space.
Yeah, I mean, even for me, I have just gotten to know her, and she's been incredibly supportive. So so we have the book club, the patient support group, and then the very last one that I want to talk about, we already talked about the mastermind, but the very last one is the affiliate brunching. So we have an affiliate program. So any nurses that are coming in, and we highly, highly, highly recommend that you sign up for the affiliate program, because if you refer patients to the programs, because again, the goal is patient empowerment. So you as a nurse would come in and you start to have your own patients, and then they have conditions, for example, cancer, mental health, Parkinson's, MS, Alzheimer's, autoimmune, chronic pain. Just to start with, we'll have more of those kind of programs coming out in the future. you would suggest that a patient takes one of those patient programs. And so then you, for doing that referral, would earn a commission for that. And so that affiliate program, and we have a whole training program around how
to be an affiliate.
Yeah, how to be an affiliate, how to market yourself. It ties really nicely in with your own consulting business as well.
It does.
All of those things go together. We get you set up with vetted products. And so we have that brunch-in that we'll have once a month. And we had a training before, but now we've completed the training, and now we're just coming and hanging out and networking and meeting each other and connecting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. So the affiliate program is great. And then also the CBD marketplace is something new.
Yeah.
We're developing, more of a marketplace where we're going to have cannabis nurse and green nurse approved products, which is going to be wonderful. So that's another a development that's happening that I think is going to be really exciting for patients because, seriously, I'm a patient and I'm going to tell you right now, I spent so much money trying to figure out how to make cannabis work for me and the different products and lots of trial and success. So we, as nurses, we source out what patients want and need, and we bring it to you. And it's really, really important that you have high quality medicine that's tested, for purity, potency, contaminants, residual solvents, where is it grown? How's it grown? What's the company like? Seriously. So we're delving deep into these different product lines because there's no one more important than you. Seriously.
It's the number one most requested thing of patients and of professionals is connect me with quality medicine. And so again, that's what we're doing. And in our programs, we talk about various modes or various routes of administration. And our goal at this point is to have as many vendors that carry multiple routes of administration, because again, not only is it going to vary from person to person, and brands are going to vary from person to person, but routes of administration are going to vary from person to person. And so again, it's our goal that we have a variety of routes inside of the marketplace so that people have a variety to choose from. Again, it's about patient empowerment. And to empower patients need to have choices, but also at the same time need to have guidance to those choices.
Exactly. And I just think it's a brilliant concept. I'm so, so grateful to be part of Holistic Caring Network as one of the green nurses. Really, really excited to expand the platform and take it to the next level. I think it's important. It's a great program. I'm really, really excited. Really, really, really happy to have you on here because, you are brave, you are courageous, you are a change agent. You're an amazing teacher, and these programs are absolutely outstanding. And it's an honor to be able to work with you, Tasha Jackson. Seriously.
Thank you so much, Sherry. It's an honor to be able to work with you and have your input to enhance our programs even more, to bring better education. We have a lot of plans in the next 6 months to enhance, change, improve, provide more, add. I mean, we're
that was my last
growing.
question. That was going to be my last question. What is on the horizon for you, Tasha Jackson?
So on the horizon for me with Holistic Caring at this point is I've already shared with you that we're going to be rolling out with a women's health program. And that is going to be completely based on Danielle's book, Weed Mom. So we'll have a book club over Weed Mom, and, that will pair nicely with that program. We're planning on trying to experiment with a subscription model. So we have self-guided programs right now, but they're kind of at a nurse professional level. So we're going to be pulling out. So Heather, hey Heather.
Hi Heather.
I love you, Heather. Heather and I are meeting tomorrow to discuss making the patient modules more patient friendly, giving more direct advice, kind of toning it down a little bit as far as the research goes, and just really kind of honing in better on patient needs.
Mm-hmm.
And so that subscription model will be coming out, again, we're just experimenting with it. We don't know. We just try stuff and see how it goes. That'll be something else that we roll out with this fall. So a revamp of patient programs, subscription program, and the women's health. And then I have this here, look, That's my to-do list that I made last night. So all of those things are on the horizon. Just basically, how do we continue to update and improve our programs? How do we bring you the very best, latest research? We don't put any, I mean, for the most part, there is some research that's older than 3 years that's really vital, right? But for the most part, our research is within the last 3 years. And so we try to really maintain that standard of excellence because the cannabis landscape is changing quickly. More research is coming out. More countries are doing research. More people are utilizing this medicine. And so as that becomes available, then we will provide it for everyone inside of the programs.
Excellent. Excellent. This has been an awesome show.
Find us at ACNA.
Yes. Oh my God. We're going to have a table there.
Yes.
We're going to be there. We're going to be tabling.
Yeah. In
American
October. And then in November, there's November 15th and 16th. We're going to be hanging out with Teepa Snow, Positive Approach to Care. She focuses on dementia. So we're also going to be hanging out, and we have a virtual booth. So they have a virtual conference this year. Next year, they'll have an in-person conference. And so we're going to be hanging out there. Also join us with Women Empowered in Cannabis Community. So we just signed up. Sherry doesn't even know about this one yet. She's going to be wrangled into
it's all good though. It gets me more excited.
Because that just happened 2 hours ago.
Tell me what's happening.
Yeah, so women empowered in cannabis. So that's a really great community where women are coming together and they're sharing various aspects of the cannabis space. So education is one of them. We are focused on medical education. This is just basic education that is also by another master's degree holding teacher. I was so excited because I haven't been able to find any other master's degree holding teachers, like master's in education, MA in education, just like me. I haven't been able to find any. And so in there is her. And I was like, I have to get to know her. So it's awesome. Just a whole community full of women that are supporting each other in the cannabis space in whatever capacity, in whatever specialty they're in. And so holistic caring will be there as well. So
excellent. I can't wait. That's going to be wonderful.
Yeah,
so we're wrapping it up. I got to keep this under an hour so we can put it on other platforms. So anyways, Tasha, I just want to say thank you so much. It was really an honor to have you on. I'm really, really excited to be part of Holistic Caring Network. The green nurses have all moved in. We're going to help take it to the next level for sure. So everyone, you need to go to the community down below. Come join us. We'd be really
excited. You do your half and I'll do my half.
Yeah, there we go. Wait, sorry. Right? Yes.
Come hang out with us.
Yes, come hang out with us. We love you all and really, truly remember what it's all about. It's about living your best life and helping others do the same. And what else? And don't
be afraid to ask questions. So get into the network, ask questions, connect with people. Like the community is there. Utilize the community. So that's what it's there for.
That's what it's there for. We're here to help decreasing stigma around what it means to feel good. And we're here to take you on a journey so you too can live your best life. Thank you everyone for joining us. Join us tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. with Nurse Mark and the Green Nurse. Bye.
Bye.